Hi, welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight, I'll be featuring the case of Erin Michelle Caffey. So let's go ahead and find out more. Let's go ahead and dive on in. On March 1st, 2008, in the early morning hours, two young men burst into the Caffey home in Texas. Mom Penny and two kids, Matthew and Tyler, were brutally murdered. Father Terry survived. However, he suffered multiple gunshot wounds, but he somehow managed to drag himself from the house before it was engulfed in an arson fire. Daughter Erin was nowhere to be found. Why and how did this happen? Let's take a look back. The Caffey family tragedy was set in motion about 5 months before the night of the murders. 16-year-old Erin Caffey began dating 19-year-old Charlie Wilkinson. Well, neither of Erin's parents, Terry or Penny, approved of the relationship. Quote, "Early on, I had reservations about the young man," end quote, Terry said. He went on to say, quote, "There was just things about him that didn't sit right with me," end quote. Hoping that the relationship would eventually just end out on its own, the Caffeys went about their daily routines and focused on their Christian church and their family love of music. Kids Tyler Caffey, who was 8, played the guitar. Matthew Caffey, 13, played the harmonica. Penny, the mother, played piano at church. Erin was the vocalist. However, once Erin started dating Charlie, her interest changed and she started to rebel from her parents. Father Terry found out some things about Charlie through his MySpace page, and those things referenced drinking and sexual activity. Terry and Penny pulled their daughter Erin aside and told her she was not raised this way and Charlie was no good for her. March 1st, 2008, 2 days after that talk, Charlie pulled up outside of the Caffey house in the middle of the night. He had two friends with him, Charles Allen Wade, who was 20 years old, and Wade's 18-year-old girlfriend, Bobby Gail Johnson. Erin ran out of the house in her pajamas to meet the group and then sat in the car while Charlie and Charles entered the home. Terry recalls that it was about 2 a.m. when a noise woke him up. Quote, "They burst into our bedroom and opened fire, shooting me several times. Not only did they come in shooting, they also came in with a samurai sword. After they shot Penny, they shot me 3 more times in the back and once in the back of the leg. All in all, I think I had been shot 11 times. I could not feel the right side of my body and nothing would come out of my mouth. I felt I had been shot in the face. Then one of them took the sword and stabbed Penny in the neck, nearly decapitating her." End quote. They said he was going in and out of consciousness, but he thought of his children who were upstairs asleep. Terry said, quote, "I began to panic. I was trying to get up and I heard Matthew begin to cry out. He said, 'No, Charlie, no. Why are you doing this?' When I heard his name mentioned by Matthew, I knew who was in my house and why he was there. Then I heard the gunfire. I tried to get up again, but the blood rushed to my head and I collapsed. I was later told Matthew had been shot, whereas with Tyler, they took turns stabbing him, who was hiding in the closet, end quote. While Terry passed out, Charlie and Charles had gone through the house, setting fire to the furniture. Terry eventually became conscious again. Quote, "When I woke up, the house was on fire. I knew I wasn't able to get upstairs because the flames were just pushing me back into the bedroom. So I crawled on the bed and found Penny. She was already gone. I finally managed to crawl out of the bathroom window and then drag myself away from the house," end quote. The time it took for all of this to occur was over a span of 2 hours. Terry was able to crawl 300 yards through the woods to a neighbor's house. That neighbor called 911. Terry was taken to the hospital, and then he was admitted to the critical care unit. Roughly 3 hours later, authorities took Charlie, Charles, and Bobby into custody. Erin was found too, but she was found hiding inside a trailer that belonged to Charles' older brother. Erin, she wasn't initially considered a suspect, but during police questioning, Charles told the police that he had been promised $2,000 for helping, quote, "take care of business," end quote, in the murders. According to police, all of the statements given by Charlie, Charles, and Bobby were the same, and that was the murders were Erin's idea. Erin was arrested while she was on the way to visit her father in the hospital. All four were initially charged with 3 counts of capital murder. After burying his family, Terry says he suffered through months of depression, and at one point, he even planned on committing suicide. However, he realized that God had put all of this together, and he knew he had been spared for a reason. Terry said that before he could move on with his life, he had to forgive those who took the lives of his family, his wife, and 2 children. He intervened on behalf of Charlie and Charles, who were facing the death penalty, and he asked that the death penalty be taken off the table. Quote, "I wanted them to have a chance to find remorse and hopefully be sorry for what they had done and have a chance for repentance," end quote. As part of the plea deal, they had to face Terry and explain their actions. After meeting with them, Terry stated, quote, "The only little bit of remorse I got was from Charlie. He kept looking down and cried a little bit. It was pretty tough for him. He told his lawyer that it was the toughest thing he ever had to do. And I said, that's good," end quote. Terry had an equally difficult time when he sat down with his daughter, Erin. Terry stated, quote, "I asked her about it, and she started crying. She said, 'I have nothing to hide from you. I will tell you anything you want,' end quote. Erin then told him she knew of the plot, but tried to get away that night, and the others forced her to wait in the car while they killed her family. Charlie had tried to pin it on her, saying that she was the mastermind and that he was just going along with it because she brainwashed him. Terry admits his decision to forgive his daughter and the others has brought a lot of criticism, but he says he doesn't let it bother him. Quote, "I am not trying to justify anything. This is my daughter," end quote. In October 2008, Charlie and Charles were each sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In January 2009, Bobby pled guilty to murder and was sentenced to 2 40-year concurrent sentences. She will be eligible for parole in 24 years. Also in January 2009, Erin pled guilty to murder. She was given 2 consecutive life sentences plus 25 years. Erin will not be eligible for parole until approximately 40 years after her sentence. Terry would eventually move on with his life and remarry, and he is now a stepfather to 2 children. He is sharing the lessons he learned from the shooting in trying to help others who have suffered. Quote, "I talk to young people about the dangers of running with the wrong crowd." In an interview, he also said, quote, "I try to use my tragedy in a positive way to reach out to others," end quote. And that is the case of Erin Caffey. Thank you for sticking around for another episode of Danny After Dark. Do you have any questions about the case? Leave it down below. Let's be interactive. Do you have a suggestion for a case that you'd like me to cover? Well, leave it down below. You may see it featured in an upcoming episode. Until next time, remember, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us.